Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Experimental Movie Podcast. This episode is about how bad things can get. And I recorded it last week, but I didn't record any sound. Well, that was last week. Come through it. I thought I'd record it last week because really, you don't see it much. You just don't see it out there, that kind of hard graft of the film. And I'm going to talk a bit about, as I did last week, about is there something different about cinema, about making movies that makes it so tricky or different as an artist? It's a different kind of artist thing. It's a different collaboration thing. Let's just get into what actually it is, eh? What actually is this movie making game? Because I'm not seeing a lot about it, and as somebody who's a therapist, a change work therapist, as well as a movie maker, an educator, business coach, all that kind of thing, I want to know a bit more. So talking about it kind of helps. Now, what on earth's all this? For those of you listening, I'm wearing a hoodie. I have not worn a hoodie ever in my life. I don't think. I'm 63. Almost, am I? So it's kind of like I've never done this before, wearing a hoodie. But this one has got Artie on the front. Yay. So this is a project of mine, which I hope this year will come to fruition. I need a coder. If any of you are after a side project as a coder, just to develop a phone app. But it's fairly simple, but I'm not that kind of organized. I've managed coders in previous businesses, but coding's a different game, and maybe that's what puts me off the AI thing. Or is that language model based at the moment? It's language rather than actually generative sort of real intelligence as such. But they are getting better, so at some point, no doubt, I'll talk about that here. So what am I going to talk about? Oh, hey, look at this. For those of you listening, I am now holding up experimental movie director Jellen, is it? Snellen, it's Dutch, Snellen Eye Chart, the famous eye chart. Now, this is in A4. If it was A3, this line 20 here would give you the perfect vision at 20 feet. So your 20/20 vision means 20 feet to see this line of 20, that one there. If this is actually an A4 piece, if I'd done it on A3. But I thought, well, I'll do it first on the old A4 and take a look first. Loving it. The logo is very small, so not as good marketing I'd want. And if you want this, simply subscribe, get in touch with me, and I will email you. I'll email you the file, then you can print one off. I think it might be quite cool on the wall at A3. So it's the Experimental Movie Director podcast by Doctor. I've put Doctor in there for a change. Dr. Mal Williamson, free cinema from literature and theatre to discover its true nature. So there's a snappy slogans. I'm working on a slogan. I've got merch. And look at this hoodie. I've got an image. My hood is up for those of you, luckily, who can't see it. The beard is getting longer. So it's kind of like a sort of film in essence I'm making here of casting. Like, I didn't like the look of myself. I've changed the webcam to one of the GoPros, so it's a bit sharper and clearer, and that makes it worse for the look. But I've got a kind of thing going on here where I'm just trying to, I don't know, what am I doing? An image, an identity. You could say I'm joining in with those actors who are so good to us to put themselves on the line and work with themselves for our pleasure, it's a sacrifice to do that work for us. So thank you very much, actors. So I can do a bit too. I'm going to take the hood down, getting a bit hot. Look at that. Now that's not a bad look, actually. A very common look for I'm hardly a biker, am I? But it's a very common look for your sort of 50s dude kind of man. And apparently in 2 or 3 months I can get round to trimming the beard and finding a shape for it. And that kind of thing. So I guess I'm casting myself in my own movie, creating some look for whatever the experimental movie director is and might become. So let's move on to the topic. I've got a load of notes written down on why filmmaking's so bad. And I had a lovely quote that I still remember from the whinging, moaning sadness. I was quite revealing. But there we go. Every movie is a horror movie when you're making it. And I'm just thinking, it sort of came up in conversation. That's what's nice about this sort of train of thought thing. It's a bit like writing, but easier and more movie based. Every movie is a horror movie while you're making it. It's hard. It's really hard. A week later, I'm thinking, well, come on, you enjoy making it. That's fine. Oh my God, some of the sets that you have to work on, some of the organizing, some of the whatever. Yeah, it's horror. Not really horror though, is it? Crikey, there's enough in the world. But every movie is a horror movie while you're making it. And it might be really while you're editing it. Because in the editing, which I'm doing now with Kitchen Sink Drama, and I'm close to the end. I said 97%. It wasn't. I've been in for the last week on it every day, and it's not 97%. It was more like 90, even 87. There was quite a lot to do that I just brushed over. Oh, wait. But I'm trying to compile all the scenes, all the different timelines all together, so I can actually watch it in one go. And I've invited somebody over. They're primed as soon as I've done it to come over and watch it with me to try and get through this horror, because it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing, especially in the no crew. I guess if somebody else has shot it, somebody else has recorded it, you kind of got some kind of, well, they haven't done very well there, or oh, I won't use them again, or whatever. But it's me. Oh, I won't use me again. It's something that's actually comes up in my mind. I'm not going to use them again. Wow. But often as well, I can remember what I was thinking at the time, where I was going. And sometimes it's nice when editing and it's like, oh yeah, I have done the shot again. Well done. I did spot something was up there and I've done that. Yeah. Okay, so let's go through it. Let's try and make a short one. Don't need me rambling. No one's that interested in me yet. A bit more this hoodie style, a bit more this beardness. Get the image going. Who knows where this is going to go on the influencer game? You know, I just need to ramp it up a bit like a movie. I'm going to make a movie of myself. Right, here we go. Sound. The technology in sound. So you're there editing and oh my God, what's going on with the sound? It's horrendous. It's a horror that you have to work through and face through when you're editing, and if it's your own movie, it's a tough one. So the sound has got great technology. Wow. Remember years ago hanging around bands and the idea of reverb and like, you know, you can't take it off. Yes, you can now. You know, you got to get the mic in the right room or whatever, and that's it. It's done. But now you can take it off. You can de-reverb for the last, 8-9 years. It's crazy stuff. So you can add the reverb, of course, and you can take it off. So that's fine. One thing that messed me up in this film was the little sound capsules. I don't want to name them. It's not their fault. I will name them Bumblebees. It's the industry standard, lovely little things, and you can buy different collections, different covers. They cover a tie clip mic. So your tie clip mic's very tiny, like the tip of a pen or something. It's a very tiny little mic that you want to put on somebody's body near their voice so you can record them, but you don't want to see it on the camera in like a fiction film. So where on earth do you put them? You have to hide them. And as soon as you put the mic in clothing and things like that, it can rustle. So when they move or suddenly move or make a gesture or even touch themselves, it's like, that's a bang, that's a rustle. It's an absolute nuisance. So it needs a lot of monitoring, as well as it needs some skill to use the Bumblebees. And that's what I didn't have. I tend to get some kit and then just get out there, you know, a little bit of practice, but just get out there and use it. And that's what you discover. After a couple of days with these Lavalier mics, I gave up again. I've used them before, to record sound and given up again. And it's just, maybe it doesn't suit the no crew. If you've got a crew, you've got a sound engineer, she can listen to it. She can be recording, doing the right thing, have all the right kit, develop the kit, apply any compressions that are needed, really have a good estimate of what's happening with the sound because they are focused totally on it. I'm more of a fix it in the mix kind of approach with no crew. And it can be fixed in the mix, but it is a horror. Every film's a horror film. It is just a horror. So I gave up after a couple of days. So there are some scenes with rustling and things like that. And I went back to my pointy microphone, my trusty Bayer Dynamic thing I've had 30, 40 years, hyper directional, just records what's in front. I'm so used to it. I know what it's recording. I know what it sounds like. If it's got levels, it's fine. There's nothing else going on. Great. And to the things on the back of the neck, I started using, now there are different ones. I won't mention any brand names here, but your little box that has a little recording device in it. They'll record to the box as well as transmit to the camera. Great. Amazing stuff. So I just stuck with them, hid them out of shot, worked with that. I knew where I was going. So an absolute horror when, what's that on the back of his neck? What's that in his jacket? What's that rustling? Because you tried to put it in the jacket and it didn't work. And because you're no crew, you're not really listening properly. Focus on something else and, oh my God, it's a horror. How do we fix this? How do we fix that? Now, all editors have got this problem, haven't they? Even on the most professional shoots, they had this problem. And for me, I've got to go to my backup, which will be recording on a Zoom digital recorder nearby with, say, a pointy mic on, or I got the pointy mic on the camera as well as some sort of backup. So it was all that backup. Anyway, during my film, the sound broke, and it took me 2 or 3 days before I realised that the sound input on the camera was faulty. It wasn't the leads. I was buying another XLR lead to go from the mic to the camera, tiny mini jack. But famous for the camera, apparently the mic inputs are a bit dodgy. Hey, I've had it 7 or 8 years, so it's done okay. But yeah, that was the final diagnosis. And I was talking to sound engineers. We had a sound engineer playing a role in the film, so that was really nice. Yeah. Most disappointing, really. What can you say? Just disappointing. So I couldn't borrow a camera. I couldn't get it fixed because it was a 2-week process. A 2-week process to get it fixed. So that wasn't going to work either because scenes were arranged, shooting was on. So there's little I could do. So it was a couple of days figuring it out before going with it, whilst all these other options came in, trying to do this, trying to do that. Worked out fine by the end. This week's okay. I've got through. There's a lot of sound work to do, but I tend to have, once I got over the bump, I got 2 or 3 backups, 2 or 3 options for each scene. It's fine. No crew is fine, even when things break. So that's really good. However, I must do more ambience. My bad. It's kind of, I used to do it, no crew. First feature film, second feature film, I would do ambience. It would be a thing I would do. This time I just couldn't be bothered. I thought, really, within the scene, within what people are talking, the gaps in the improvisation, the gaps in the kind of work I'm doing, I'll have enough to copy. And if you grab a bit, you can kind of copy it as long as you shift it around a little bit. It's all right. I'm not going to bother. So I think it just annoys people. Or is it because I've seen too many memes about how the sound guy ignores people, annoys people by asking for a couple of minutes of quiet on set and just recording the room. So you're just trying to get a room tone like that, this silence of a room tone. And you can bed that underneath the whole scene. Very, very useful. Very, very annoying that I didn't do it. So I'm going to go back to that ambience thing. It's going to be a thing. Try and kick it into some meditative break thing. Do a scene. Okay, let's just reflect back on what we've shot there, and just while we record some ambience. It might be a nice thing to do with the no crew directing. Just settle down and move on to the next scene. But before we do, we'll take a breather, record some ambience. Okay, framing. Framing. Now, this movie, I've been doing anamorphic. My first time, I've made some music videos and other stuff. First time on the anamorphic, I've gone for it's a 1.8 lens, a Blazar, or Great Joy. I liked it. It was called Great Joy when I bought the lens. Standard 50mm, so no close-ups. So I had to buy the adapters for your focus, so you can get closer in. So that's lovely. So I'm switching filters on set. Feel like a proper cinematographer, and so much to learn. But the framing's lovely because it's super wide. This 50mm one that I've got, and I've gone for this 2.39 to 1 ratio. So once I sort of suss that out on the edit deck, everything good. And you got so much variety. I can frame in and move the image around a little bit. So when filming, I was thinking I can frame in and move the image around a bit. But I know a bit more now after editing how much I can frame up. And there's not that much vertical, to be honest. Your vertical's pretty much the same as what it is. But that's good. One of the things that you can get a monitor, right? So I've got a monitor. I'm actually using it here in the podcast in front of me. So quite small. And you can set the monitor to take your full widescreen lens, or take the 2.39 to 1 ratio, and so you can actually see what you're doing in there. But I don't like that no crew. I don't like a great big slab of like an iPad looking thing on top of my camera. It's literally a wall in between me and the performers. Now I don't mind my little one. I can just tilt it up. I can generally see it, take a look. I've got a focusing thing on the yellow highlights. So it's all right. I kind of know what's going on. And I did do some checks on this anamorphic, because your thirds are basically still the same. You're kind of okay. If you're looking for thirds, you've got it. You've still got it. So your basic kind of middle and top and bottoms, middle, either side, those spaces in your framing still exist, and you can still fluctuate with them. Then it gives you choices. The first day or two when I was looking at the dailies, it was kind of, no, I can't go as wide as that. You can't set two people apart ready to get that full wide thing, even though you can kind of see it on the back of the camera. It's going to be too much. I would say that the back of the camera, was very squashed vertically, so I'm looking at a squashed vertical thing. You'd think all scary, but honestly it worked fine. But every movie's a horror movie when you're making it. Bit of a risk, bit of a chance, but also a nice discovery. And that's worked out fine. Hasn't been a problem at all, the framing on this Touchwood. It's the core and pure. The pure core, it says in my notes here. And it's the pure core of my communication, the framing. It's what I'm here to do. Okay, focus. Yeah, I just mentioned it. Well, I did get better, because sometimes it's very, very wrong. The yellow highlights isn't enough. My eyes aren't enough. Hence, the Snellen Eye Chart. Yay, Dutch ophthalmologist. Now, this was developed in the 1850s. You know, those letters you see in the opticians, and you got to try and read them. Was it 1860s? A long, long time. It's been going a long time. Still not surpassed in terms of its usefulness. And we love a chart, don't we, as photographers and cinematographers, of which I am not yet, but I can really feel that journey, and it's lovely. And as I say, with the FX3 now, really learning the next learning curve stuff with that. So very good. And yeah, so I didn't like the monitor. The monitor would help with the focus, as you see everything a lot bigger and clearer. And then I had somebody doing behind the scenes photography, Blake. Now Blake said, well, he had the same camera as me, just zoom in. And it's one of those little menu things that I'd never done. he told me to do it that night. I had a look. Oh my God, yeah, I should be using this. So it just zooms in, so you can see your focus, get the eyes totally in focus, zoom out again and see the framing. Beautiful. And once I'd set it, I realised, well, it was already set. I'd already done it and just forgotten or stopped using it, or it's automatically set on a particular button that made more sense. And I did discover that. We're going, well, it's all right. Now, which button? It'd be good if it was on this. Oh, it is on this button. Brilliant. So, yeah, so once I started using that, the focus was a lot better. So thanks, Blake. Here I am, 63, still learning stuff. Mind you, with this digital, I suppose I've only been using digital SLRs since 2016. So 10 years of that. And I just dived in thinking, oh, well, it can't be that difficult from the old SLRs and all that, and video cameras. But yeah, they are different. There is a lot to learn. Okay, so that was focus. Thank you very much, Blake, for sorting me on that one. There's always something to learn, and often your masterclass is just the basics. Just learn your basics and learn them again, because that is the masterclass thing. It's not a complicated thing. The masterclass is the basics. Okay, performance. I like it when people talk at the same time when they're acting. It's a natural cognitive process. I think it's good. With one camera, who am I filming? Am I filming both of you? Am I filming one of you? Now what do I do? Now how do I edit? When I chop picture to somebody else, they need to be talking and saying what's that. So it does make it very difficult, but it wasn't massively. I think I did say it maybe once. I asked somebody not to talk at the same time. That was all it took. So they didn't do it. Managed to cut. But cutting a scene at that point is just amazing. Your timing of it is just beautiful. That you got these different takes of the scene, and you can add pauses, take a different reaction face. And that's the thing, while you're filming no crew, is get the reaction. Cinema is often about the reacting to what's being said, so make sure you get that. And therefore, a single camera while somebody's improvising in front of you, you got to sacrifice a good speech sometimes and just go with the response of how somebody is responding with their face to what's being said. And that is quite, you're making all these judgments while you're filming. And I think to some extent, well, that's about being no crew. That's about being the artist auteur, the true auteur on their own, making a film with these people. Those are the decisions and the feel and the vibe that you're in at the time that you do. Now, what else? Yeah, all lovely. Now, I just want to, there's a thing here, too much and not enough. A lot of the time you go, it's too much, not enough. And I do admit now, having made a few of these no crew things and learning to direct in that sense, or learning to capture. What do we need to capture? It's going to communicate. Because when you edit the horror, every film's a horror movie when you're making it. The horror is that you can edit these scenes with the actors. You can edit the performance into a slightly different tension, a slightly different energy. And hell, if you're going 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes on a scene, your energies change over those scenes, the deliveries change. So you need plenty of options. And when you start editing, you've got plenty of options. It's beautiful. That's why it takes so long. So you've got to look through all those options, hold them floating in your mind, and let them like quantums just drop into place. If you look, it changes. The tension doesn't change. You have to move it, don't observe it, see how it goes. I do like to just drop things in random and think, well, it's roughly there. And then you look and go, oh, yeah. And you never have put it into place like that. But it would. Anyway, so that's a beautiful thing. Every film is a beautiful film when you're making it. The one in your mind. The one in your mind when you write it. The one in your mind when you're filming it. The one in your mind when you're editing it. The one in your mind when you're watching it. The one in your mind when you're marketing it. The one in your mind when you're in a room with other people watching it. All beautiful, and horror. The horror. And thank you, actors. So, yeah, thank you very much, actors. The great thing about actors, I love to work with non-actors, real people. I'm after that sort of cognitive authenticity, chasing that with my experimentation. Can't do better than an actor, though. You get an actor, and the great thing is he'll improvise this whole scene. The actor can do it again. Whereas your non-performer is kind of, what, I don't know what I said. Whereas the actors are on it, and they'll go again, and you can go too much, not enough, and they can just respond, and off they go, and they can deliver lines. If I come up with a line in the scene, oh yeah, let's have this line. Yeah, it's superb. The skill set of the actor, the performer, and every non-actor is an actor once they've done it a bit and they can do it a bit more, and by the end of the film they're a lot better, or they work towards what I'm after, and then they work on another film and work towards what that film's after. So yeah, but the actor skill set is superb, absolutely superb. Heads up, I'll be reviewing a book called Screen Acting: A Cognitive Approach. So I'm doing it for a journal, the Society of the Cognitive Studies of Moving Image, and I'll put that onto here. I'll do a report on that. So it's looking at acting as a cognitive sense, a brain processing sense, rather than some kind of, I don't know, creative, mysterious theatre. Let's get theatre out of cinema. Theatre doesn't belong in cinema, nor does literature. It's not a stage. It's not Find Your Light. The film set, the space that we make cinema in is a different space and a different purpose. But hey, hats off to actors who are trained in this loveliness to remember what they're doing, and they care so much. It's great. Oh yeah, something a bit like ambient stillness. I often didn't get stillness. I let the actors off. I had so many of them this time. It wasn't like 3 or 4, working together in a single location kind of movie. This was several locations, all roughly in the same area, in my neighbourhood. So I thought it'd be easy, but oh my God, no. Several locations, several actors, several events, several plot lines, several things happening with these different characters. And I needed a bit of stillness. So I wasn't controlling them that much. I needed a bit of stillness before a scene starts. And sometimes I could get that because I can say, oh, I'm not ready, when I am ready. Other times I'm not ready. So I've got to slow them down, so that naturally slows them down. So you're just kind of doing that. Eye movements, cognitive eye movements. Now, this is my PhD study in cognitive eye movements in the cinema, and that the literal facts, and read the PhD, it's all there, 100,000 odd words. The facts of it are cognitive eye movements are cut out of cinema, and yet they are in there, and it appears that even when not being aware of cognitive eye movements, these are eye movements where we're accessing internal images, sounds, memories, and our eyes move accordingly, and they move within a structure, they move within a sense. All those are cut out of cinema generally. And yet, even though they're cut out of cinema, generally they are there. There is an eye movement strategy. Movies seem to have an eye movement strategy that matches the character. Again, I think it's something magical about cinema. It's something that why cinema is different to other arts. It has this realism. It has this space that we work in and we think in. And if you think metaphorically, I've mentioned the metaphor. This head is a metaphor of the mind. This frame is a metaphor of the world. So you have the frame of the cinema that is a metaphor of the world. You see a head on it, which is a metaphor of the mind. Cinema is about humans. It's a very human art form. I wonder if that's why Robert Bresson was making his film of Genesis and working with animals. And he did that amazing Oh Hazard Balthazar. So you put the camera on the donkey and you can see it thinking. And that's part of cinema because of the power of these metaphors. Or, just trying to straighten my beard there. It's awful when you can see yourself all the time. But yeah, the beard does need a trim, but I've got to wait. Okay, so that's the mind, So this head, this beard, this hoodie gives you a different sense of my mind as opposed to suit and tie and all the rest of it. Anyway, where was I? Eye movements. So in this movie, I wanted to include all these eye movements. I've got to work with them and see what they are. I didn't want to do a full-on experimental movie, even though I am an experimental movie director, because I want to incorporate the eye movements within a mainstream narrative kind of thing. There's a lot to be said for the whatever the mainstream narrative is. Let's not define it now, but there's a lot to be said for that capturing and presentation of people talking. It's a marvelous thing and done so well when you got these great actors doing it. Come on, it is absolutely amazing. I'm not here to say no to that. I'm saying and. So I wanted to add eye movements in, and that was great. So sometimes I would get some deliberately and ask for them. These flicking eye movements, saccadic, it's called, as you move from one side to another, up and down, and they all have different relevances within the film. In my film, I'm going to play it as an editor, as a director, as a performer. How intrusive is it to amalgamate these eye movements into what else is already going on? Because the editor does want to cut to the tension, does want to cut to the story, which is why they don't like cutting on blinks, or they use the blink to edit, as Merck would do. I was going to say Edvard Munch. I'm getting Edvard Munch and Walter Murch mixed up in my head. And so as Murch would say, the blink is the idea, and there is a lot of cognitive research in only the last 10 years or so. The blink it's a set of ideas. It breaks up what we're saying and thinking. So that's really quite lovely, isn't it? And here we are editing, click, click, click. And he discovered, just work on that, because you work to the edit, to the blink. You miss the blink out, of course. Now, in my movie, I don't want to miss the blink out. I don't want to miss the eye movement. So where Michael Caine is staring at one eye, pick an eye, in his thing, Google it, Michael Caine, pick an eye, and stare at that eye and don't blink, because that gives the editor plenty of chance to make their choices and the director to make their choices. Fine, make your choices, but what I'm about is capturing this reality. I want people thinking. I want audiences to see people thinking, instead of just seeing people emotively react and respond with something we call emotion that isn't biologically, there's no biomarkers for it. You cannot see a consistent emotion around the world in different cultures from different people. The emotion, it's why I have music in films. The emotion depends on the music. The music comes to give the emotion. More on that later with this film. Oh no, there isn't. In Kitchen Sink Drama, I'm giving my composer, he's having I don't know if he's having a hard time, but I'm saying, no, too emotional. No, just go with the thoughts. I'm after the thoughts. I want to have the music defending the cognitive, the music supporting the thinking ideas. So over the course of the movie, can I lock people into thinking rather than emotion? And this is the horror, because you look at a scene, it's just dreadful, and you look at the idea of the scene, and where's the emotion? Can't I just make a nice scene for a change? I've been editing the finale, not to give the game away, but it is a bit of action for a change, something happening in my film, and it's beautiful. It's lovely to edit. It's great fun, and it's hey, here we go, but still I want to get the thinking. So that's the experiment, not to just use loads of eye movements, soaking everything up, but just integrate it. Will it integrate in production, in the edit, and is it enough to just add something else to what's going on? And that's the point of the experiment. Totally valid. How else can you do it than be an artist, be an auteur, and use this information and see what it's like to use? Did it help? Right, okay. Yeah, basically the eye movements were best when people were being natural. When I was getting the interacting, another of my phrases, the acting between themselves, often when they're not thinking that the camera's on, or thinking that this is part of the scene, or whatever, and then you only need a little bit. I'm finding the juice of that, the essence is just quite enough to just get everything in. Just thought I wasn't recording, then thought, oh my God, am I not recording? Yeah, I am. Camera movements. Now, yeah, the framing can be fine, and you got lovely stabilization digital effects, so you can stabilize and freeze and things like that. They don't work greatly. You can get distortions. Camera movements are essentially really, really hard. So when everything else is going on as no crew, as a single person shooter, as an auteur, a true auteur, it's good to minimize. I use a monopod. I like the monopod, so it means I'm holding the camera. So if I'm nervous and shaking and jittery, it's there. You know, my presence in the room is valid. It's a bit like it is a therapeutic approach of the person-centered counseling. This is the person-centered filming. It's about the people in the room. I am one of the people in the room. The therapist affects the client. It's like that. There was a lovely experiment. They put a bunch of people into various psychiatric hospitals. Now, it is America, and as we know, America tends to be a very stupid place full of very stupid people and very Republican ideas on anything to do with life. As we find out, they need an awful lot of growing up compared to the diverse sophistication of Europe. Anyway, so it's America in their crazy hospitals. But these people, once in the hospital, they couldn't actually get them out because the doctors interpreted everything they were doing as some level of insanity, for want of a better word. And interestingly, in the experiment, the only people who knew they weren't insane were the other patients. So there's a lot of shortcut words I've used there. Anyway, that's a different thing. But it's that sense of, like, you know, if I'm in the room and jittering, I know something's wrong. Now, as a director, you could be jittering and just fold your arms and don't tell the camera person and just try and look serious and tense your face a bit, and everybody will think you're deep in thought and it's fine, when in fact inside you're trembling. But if you've got your hand on these lenses in some way, you're attached to the look, you know. Yeah, it's not just your voice that's giving it away. So I like that. I've got to be on it as well. I've got to be in the mood. I've got to be in this state to actually make these films. My voice has to be there. Like in the therapeutic thing, you want somebody in a certain state, a client, relaxing, for instance. You need to relax yourself. So you can relax your voice first and move into that state first, and then invite the client, cajole, persuade, or just have them copying you. Yeah, all of these things are great for directors as well. So I like hands-on, literally hands-on, that monopod. Great. So I don't like the tripod, it's monopod. There's a little bits of movement. Please, how do they do it? You know, what was I watching? Oh, the latest Mission Impossible. What a lovely film. Just great fun. And you look at these camera work in these action films and these mainstream Hollywood things. You know, the thing moves. Sorry about this phone. I turned it down. New phone. Turned it down. Obviously not well enough. Still getting notifications. Aeroplane mode, isn't it? Remember, next time these podcasts are getting banned. How do they move those cameras? Is it because they're heavier? They get a lovely sort of slow kind of handheld movement. Or is it just your gimbal, and they're setting the gimbal beautifully to just give a thing that you don't notice? So you don't notice it even moving, but it allows them to just keep a frame around a character, because, of course, movies are about delivering literature, and this is the problem. So if a character moves in, the camera just needs to have that character delivering that literary point of plot or meaning or notice this. So it has to frame up perfectly to keep that. You don't want it framed here because you're dealing with a metaphor of the world, and this is the world, and let the actors move in it like they're in a world, they're in a forest, and just like we are in normal spaces, humans and spaces, time and space. And the cameras that just move slightly that we don't notice. But it's a lovely movement. That's mine. I'm in monopod. I mean, it's steady because it's on a monopod, and if I'm not trembling, all good, and it will move. And you can get a kind of movement, but every movie is a horror movie when you're making it. And you got The movement, oh, I don't like that. Oh, it's not going to be noticeable. Oh, it's too noticeable. Oh dear, what's going on here? Yeah. Well, you got to face that on the edit deck as an auteur, as a director, as a single person shooter, a true auteur, a no crew production expert. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, that's the humanity. And I have frozen some. So as you get through in the rough edit, just freeze it, deal with it later, make the decision later, freeze the frame, let the effects just like lock it off, camera lock, bang. Okay, let's go with that. Don't want to distract. So I'm doing the same game. The cinema is the same game in these experiments. I'm just sort of like, no, when it's gone too far to the emotion, too far to literature, too far to theatre, all of those influences, let's just tease them out, pull out these different influences so we can separate what is actually truly cinematic. And that's why I'm making movies. That's what I do with them. That's the kitchen sink drama. Having said that, after doing this action film, I think, oh yeah, get yourself out there, Mal. There could be some great things to do on other people's movies where I don't have to be so up my arse thinking about everything and all that, and have some great fun just making a good movie. And I understand I had the two drone people on this movie are both filmmakers in their own right. And it was lovely the way Dan was going, true cinema, doing the action movie. They loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I get it. It's great. And there's a shot, I won't bother telling you which one, but it's a shot. And I had, North by Northwest in mind as the plane comes down on Cary Grant, is it? And zoom. Had that kind of thing and the upward tilt. So it's those things going on. There's just like, true cinema where you can just use the framing and use the camera just to sort of have some fun, have some drama, have some theatre. Yeah, I guess that's part of cinema as well. But, I enjoyed it for the scene. It's meant in my intellectual head of control and trying to be an experimental researcher with this. It's like, oh no, let's put it in and you can get all the way to the end and be kind of rewarded and then go, so Mal could have been doing this all the way through. We could have been watching a film that had something going on, for God's sake. So why haven't we? And they can leave the cinema with that kind of, that's a phrase, isn't it? Leave the cinema with that in mind. That's a nice note for podcast, leave the cinema. So it's a lovely phrase and a lovely moment as you think about that. It's a lovely space. Like in the Seinfeld, they use a lot of like just approaching the cinema, going to the movies, queuing for tickets, a little bit of leaving, but not so much leaving. And of course, David Bordwell has written about the effect of leaving the cinema, the post-cinematic effect. That'll be an interesting podcast. What else have I got? I've got here editing. Let's just go to editing. Over and over. I'm going to read it out because there's a lot of it. I'll put it on the screen if it can focus that close. Editing over and over. Do it. Sleep. And you come back to it and it's wrong. There must be a list somewhere of, no, add 2 frames here to make it look natural. Yep, cut back up to 3 frames here if the wider angle change goes to a wider view. No matchup. And of course, there's a blink. But come on, and I want the eye movements. People in life are slower than a drama scene. Pacing. Lying? Is it lying? Is it lying? Storytelling is telling stories. It's lying. And people in real life don't, they need more time to think. So it is kind of lying. So I'm after some neurological authenticity, please. And of course, changing the shots to change the scene. With a single camera shoot, there's not so much in the way of options. I do have 2 cameras now. Am I going to ever use them? Because I can't really use a wide because I'm in there. I'm in the shot close to the camera, so there'd be no point in a wide. And if I locked off a camera on another person, so I got a 2 shot going on, well, that's a bunch of setups. Then I got to tell that performer not to move within a certain criteria, and they will, and I can't follow them like I can on the monopod. Just follow them a little bit from one to another, and I'm not getting the framing. I mean, I've said it was great with the anamorphic. There's a lot of leeway on the editing. It's made things workable. But framing is your point. It's what you're here for as a camera person. So to have like a rough framing going on is quite I don't know. I'd like to get off that and maybe think about a blooming monitor. I'm not sure what the FX3 can do, actually. Maybe the FX3 can get an accurate anamorphic display on the little monitor. That would be good. I haven't even checked for that. And of course, if I had two cameras, then need the anamorphic on that one as well. So I'd need to buy another lens. If I want to buy another lens, I'm not wealthy. I'm not going to be buying another lens. Even if I was wealthy, really. You know, this is for production values. If a film needs it to deliver literature and there's no other way forward, then you have to buy another lens and you have to spend that money. But I'm not in that game. I'm not here. I'm here to experiment. With a single camera shoot, there's not so much in the way of options. The two scenes I edited, I had two scenes. I edited the scene twice. And I went till the end, I think, I'm sure I've edited this. So there's quite a few scenes of these two characters in this location. And I'm sure I've done this, but it's just like this head down, relentless 9 to 10 hour, 12-hour days, 9-hour days of editing over and over again. And when you're doing that, you see the sadness of it, the horror is day after day, and you work that long and you've made such a little difference to the overall movie progress. You made such a little difference. It takes you 9 hours to just go, I've got another click of the fingers here. And then the next day you have to do it again. And another 9 hours, another little click of the fingers. It takes so long. And that is horror. It's a horror work kind of thing. It's like washing or something. Washing clothes every day. Or my experience of that would be cutting lettuce. You bend over, cut the lettuce, stand up, slip the lettuce into the bag, bend over, put the bag in the box. Bend over, did a swing from the box, round to the lettuce, cut another lettuce. You have a lovely sharp knife and you trim the lettuce, tuck it away. 8 hours of that every day. Or pulling tomatoes or anything, those farming, agricultural, just work, What most people do is work. That editing becomes work in that. And we all know work's horrible. Even though it's what you're loving to do, this bit is horrible. Editing over and over again. Every movie is a horror movie when you're making it. It's a lot of work to get to a point where now I'm very close. I'm half a day away from going, I can now watch the whole thing. So it's been a long slog that made me miserable. And it was better the second time. The second time I edited better. So that bodes well. That's good for the idea of like, here's the rough edit. Put all the scenes together. What have we got? Which scenes am I dropping any? Do I move them? Now I can cut quicker rather than cutting for quantity and see it. Every little thing that the scene's involved. Be like, don't need to pull this out of this scene, so I'm going to get it out of that scene, kind of thing. So it'll be a different thing, and bodes well. If the second time I edit, it's better. It's quicker. It's pacier. The shots I've included are better. What else we got? My poor single camera footage. Yeah, I'm not the world's best camera person. I'm getting better, but it's supposed to be my thing. But I'm not here because I like holding a camera. I'm not so sure I even like. Yeah, I do like being the camera person in a room. Like going to a wedding. Oh God, someone's wedding. But if I can film it, it gives me something to do. It doesn't. It feels I'm more engaged. I'm more distracted from the humdrum of it all. Not a very nice way to think about the weddings, but all those church services and things like that. Filming funerals. Maybe I should film the next funeral I go to. If I ever go to one again. And I often edit from the end backwards. Oh, yeah. Doing the end bit where I know that there's a thing that's there at the end. That's been nice with this thing. So I go to that bit, make that work, and then edit backwards towards that. That's nice. That's been nice, because often you start at the beginning, ooh, And by doing with all the shots, you get to know the material really well. You can see where it goes. You can flip back and change your mind and all that kind of thing, and deliver what you want to deliver. Is this what all editors do? Is this just no crew? Because the editing job itself, with a director over your shoulder, that's a different game, isn't it? A different game. It's a game of problem solving. But when you're problem solving on your own, like it's no crew game, and you're editing your own footage that you shot, all those faults are there. I should have said this at the beginning. The point is, everything's there, and it's all your fault. Literally, it's your fault. And it's quite sad and quite hard. And you don't know if the scene works till you spent a full 9 hours on it, wading in the horror, before you can actually sit back and, oh, it's all right, it worked. And then the next day you start again. Oh, it looks terrible, out of focus, the sound not working, a wobble here, a wobble there, performer not quite right there. What have I said? I should have got them to do it again. I should have done this, could have done that. All those kind of things for 9 hours. And then at the end you get, actually, yeah, it's all right. And of course, not necessarily the end. That's the editing thing. You spend a couple of hours and you made a difference. You know, this is working. When it's not working, it's a horror. When it's not working. And of course, with the scenes, you got to think, well, some of these scenes are really crucial. It's not literature in what I do, but it kind of was with this kitchen sink drama anyway. It was very much a sense of literature. But I was certainly trying to convert a literature beginning, middle, and end into structure, but have every character following the same structure of rising and falling action, act 1, act 2, act 3. So I don't mind structure. I'm not against structure. I think structure is cinematic. You start the film and people leave the cinema at the end. There's a structure here that you work within. When cinema started, it was about 10-minute reels. You could get a roll of film into a projector, and it'd last 10 minutes. You had 2 for the opening first act, 4 in the middle, and 2 at the end. And at the end of every 10 minutes, you're giving a scene or a fade out where the projectionist can bring in the next reel off the other projector, so you have a continuous projection. And you have little projectionist marks in the top corner of the actual print, so you can see those sometimes in certain prints. But you have things like aftermath scenes. So you have, here we are to a certain point, then you have this nice aftermath scene of somebody just reflecting and just hold it still. Everybody can wake up, projectionist kind of, oh, here we go. And then they go off into a dream, do a fade out, boom, and then you fade in and into the next bright day. All of that cinematic stuff is because of the nature of 10-minute reels. So I don't mind structure. It's cinematic. You start your film and you end your film, and in between there's a structure. So I had all this going on in kitchen sink drama. So I had events. And I was quite happy taking on people's ideas. So performers would come up with ideas, and I say happy listening. And some of them are there and some of them aren't, because some of them, no, I didn't fit. But I didn't mind the events because it's like, it clarified myself. It's like, no, I don't want to explain it. And no, this isn't going to go anywhere. And it didn't come from anywhere. I'm not doing literature. I want to put this scene in and let the audience start inventing the literature of it. I've just shown an event in time and space, one event after another. And they talk about time philosophically, that it is merely a series of events. So I'm using that as a sense of structure, a sense of what cinema is philosophically, or cinema is as an art form, a series of events. Literature has made those events all hang together and make sense in some crazy meaning. And it's like, life doesn't have that meaning. Cognitively, we don't have that meaning. And yet it's projected into cinema. And unfortunately, because cinema is photographically real, the mirror neurons and other factors come into play, and we believe it and we follow it. And after, I think, 4 or 5 generations of growing up with screens and cinema, we're all too damned emotional. We don't think anymore. So we don't see any heroes thinking. We don't see somebody, an action hero, thinking. We see them acting and doing stuff. And we see people with personal crises and difficulties and relationships there, blah, blah, blah. We just see them emoting. Oh, being expressive and having emotions and feelings. You don't show the bit between the effect of a feeling and you go, oh, I've got a feeling, because cognitively your body has released stuff into you and you have a feeling, and then you have a little cognitive thing to think about it. Then you can move to the emotion and choose that thing. Now that's the reality. That's the neurological process. And in cinema, we're just going straight into cinema, because straight into feelings, straight into expression, because it's theatre. So take the literature out, making everything make sense, beginning, middle, and end, with a beautiful flow of stuff and meaningful. Ain't literature. And of course, literature's got a trick, because literature can spend a few pages on the fictional mind, so we're not going to lose the fictional mind. Cinema doesn't have that. It doesn't spend a few pages on what we're thinking. It's cut all the thinking out because of the eye movements. The thinking's gone. We've just got emotion. We've just got expression, and that lends itself right into theatre. So theatre's come in, and everyone puts on the makeup and expresses, and all the actors are trained in that facial expression of emotion. And oh, it's so emotional, so emotional. So I'll end quickly. We use music. We use music. Film can simply use music. And until editors know this, until you put the music on, nobody knows what to feel. You put different music on, then we know what to feel. So the performances, because emotion doesn't have biomarkers, it doesn't have universal acceptance to what a facial expression means. You can't tell. Change the music, then we know whether to feel scared, whether we know whether to feel in love, whether we know to feel grand, whether we know to feel concerned. All those things are in the musical expression, whatever music is. And of course, poor Tom Orrit, who's been composing with this one. I have long conversations which I aim to publish or make available in some way. I'm trying to get the music to just pick out the thoughts, pick out the cognition, which is like anathema to what... It's not anathema to what he's doing. He's kind of like, what? What? Okay, yeah, no, don't do that. Don't do that. No, don't go there. I want resilience. That's thing one. I want resilience, Tom. You know, so he has a thought, and then it goes wrong, and it's, oh, whatever. We didn't mope into that. It has another thought. Pop! Out of the music comes another thought, whatever. And I match that up to the eye movements, and off we go. We've got a cinema of the mind. Ta-da! So I'm quite cheery, aren't I? I'll put my hood back on and say, not good night, but say that'll do. Crikey, it's an hour. Wasn't as sad as the first one I did, because I was quite desperate and sad. But you know, it's filmmaking. You work through, you carry on. Bye bye everyone, till next time. Thanks for listening. Please share. Please think about it. Talk to somebody. Bye bye.